but we're going to take a look at completing it as a spreadsheet versus completing it on Applia. So our directions on the very first page of the sheet read all the steps before completing this spreadsheet. Thank you. Click the Mastery Problem 7.3 tab to view the blank data file. We're going to key our name in cell B2, key for month ended September 30th, use our current year in cell A6. Key the income statement column balance for the worksheet in your textbook in columns D and E. Cells containing F require a formula. Create and key formulas to complete the spreadsheets. We're going to create formulas for the appropriate component percentages in column F. We're going to use the date of September 30th in cell A24. And the balance sheet account balances are going to be completed in columns C and G. And balance sheets or cells containing an F require a formula. We're going to complete as well. Highlight the cells containing a net loss amount and select format cells, and we need to select the number tab on the category list, and from a negative number select an option that displays the number in a red font surrounded by parentheses. So we're going to have to make sure we remember to do that. So again, that's just all of our directions. Taking a look at Mastery Problem 7-3, up in the very top we got to start with in cell A2. Go ahead and get your name on there. Our next direction was to put our date on there, and that's going to be in cell A6, and we're going to write for month ended September 30th, comma, 2016. So our income statement columns, we're not going to be using columns B, C, and D. We're going to use columns E and F. So we're going to put on our amount for sales, which we are going to find on page 195 in our textbook. We have sales gives us a balance of $3,269. So that amount is going to go in cell F10. And I typed in 3269 and hit enter, and it put the commas in and the zeros after the decimal point. So now after that on our income statement, I need to go through and put in my expenses. My expenses are going to go in column E. So my total for advertising expense is going to be $450. Insurance expense is going to be $157. You'll find when you put in $157 and hit enter, it'll move you down to the next one. Miscellaneous expense is $85. Supplies expense is $1,400. Utilities expense is $1,641. So this is just truly going through and putting in our numbers. The rest of what we're going to do on our income statement are going to be formulas. Now let me tell you this. To put in a formula, we always start with an equal sign, but we don't put the word sum all the time. The only time we use the word sum is truly when we're adding. We had some people that turned in spreadsheets to me before that said equal sum, and then you did B3 minus B7. Well, you're not going to sum if you're going to subtract two things. So make sure that you follow along and have the correct formulas in. I am showing you how to do that. Kyle, you following along with me? All right. So in cell F17, right now there's an F in there, so I need to go ahead and start with an equal sign. And it looks like it's jumping over to E17. You just leave it on there, and I'm going to now, because what I'm doing is I'm going to be adding B12, B13, B14, B15, B16. I'm going to use equals the word sum, left parenthesis, and then I'm going to highlight and select B12, excuse me, E12 to E16, put in a right parenthesis and hit enter. So when you're doing that, it kind of jumps over and looks like it's in the column E, but it is actually in column F. Now, they already have in A18 that this is a net loss, and I can tell that this is a net loss because my revenue is $3,269 and my expenses is $3,733. So my expenses are greater. So I need to go through and calculate my net loss. My net loss is going to be calculated by starting with the equal sign. So in F18, I put in an equal sign, and then I'm going to click on F10. And then I'm going to subtract F17. I am not putting in the word sum. I am just clicking on equals F10 minus F17. You will notice that it put that in parentheses. What does the parentheses indicate? A negative number or a net loss. Now when I go back over here to my directions, it does tell me that we need to select the option that displays the number in a red font surrounded by parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and select F18, and I'm going to go to Format, and then when I go here to number, I don't really have an option in here because it says financial. And notice financial, it gives me the parentheses around it, but it doesn't give me any typical option right on there to go through and choose it. And then when I select here, it gives me different amounts, so like ways to display different currencies. So what we can see is that in Google Spreadsheets, we don't have an option to put it in a red font for us automatically. It does have it in parentheses. If you were in Excel, you would be able to find a way where it would put it in parentheses and red right away. So the only thing that we need to do right now is go ahead and change our text color from blue to red. And that red just makes it truly stand out to be like, oh, okay, this really is a negative number. The next thing that we have to complete on our income statement is going to be our component percentages. So I'm going to go to cell G10. And in G10, I'm going to go ahead and do equals. Then I'm going to do F10. I can't click on it because it kind of jumps over. So I'm going to type in F10. And then I'm going to do divided by. And that's going to be the slash located right next to your shift key. And that's going to be divided by F10. I was drawing a mind blank. Because we're dividing everything by percent of sales. So sales divided by sales should always give you 100%. Now we're going to go through and do that for total expenses. We're going to put in an equal sign. I'm going to do F17. Then I'm going to divide by F10. Same thing for component percentage for net loss in cell G18. I'm going to put in an equal sign. Then I'm going to do F18 divided by F10. So no matter what, for all of these, I'm dividing by F10. You will notice that that did give me a negative 14.2%. This is a negative number, so I need to go ahead and put this as a font color of red. And Google Sheets is not going to give us an option to put it in parentheses, but otherwise we would do that as parentheses as well. So that is the formulas that you use in a spreadsheet to calculate an income statement. Now we're going to go through and do our balance sheet. So we're going to go down to section on the balance sheet, and we're going to go in cell B24, and we have to put in the date, and that is going to be September 30th, because balance sheets are prepared on a specific day, not for a fiscal period. So we would never write for month ended for year ended on a balance sheet, because we're saying on this exact date, this is what my accounting equation was. In cell C27, we're going to put the amount in of excuse me, cash that we have. And when I look on page 195 in our textbook, I can see that I have the amount of cash of $6,958. Petty cash, I have 150. Accounts receivable, I have 197. Supplies, I have 780. And accounts payable, Tampa Supplies, 800. So again, I'm getting all those numbers from my textbook on page 195, and I'm getting that from the balance sheet columns. So far, examples have not given you a full worksheet. It's given you just the income statement and balance sheet columns, but remember, you have to get it from those columns. So we are to the point in cell C32 that we have to put it in a formula. Really, what you would have done on your calculator is add them all up. So in a spreadsheet, we start with an equal sign, and I'm going to put in the word sum, because truly, I am going to add up everything from C27 to C31, and I'm going to end with the right parenthesis. So again, it's going to be equals sum, left parenthesis, C27 colon C31 with the right parenthesis. Now I need to go over and do the right-hand side. In this example, they only have one liability account, and they don't have us write one liability account and then write total liabilities, because that's kind of weird to write the same number twice. So all I need to do is in cell G27, put the amount of my liability, which is 612. And then I get to the point on cell G30 that I have to put in my capital. And I am not going to put $9,337 because it will not work. What do I need to do to figure that out, Isaac?
Take the capital, subtract drawing and the net loss.
Not add a net loss. Okay. So I thought I'd heard add. So we are going to subtract drawing always, because that's a contra account to owner's equity. And then because we have a net loss, we have to subtract our net loss. But if we have a net income, we would add it. So in this case, we're actually going to use a calculator, not a formula, because we don't have all of these numbers on our spreadsheet to put in there. I would go through and take $9,337, subtract $600 for our drawing, and then I would subtract my net loss of $464. And that means my owner, Ron, has a balance of $8,273. So this is a great example where it shows you that what happens to the business if we operate and have a net loss. It decreases the value of what our owner has in the business. The last formula we need to put on our spreadsheet is going to be in cell G32, and I'm going to start with an equal sign. And I am going to go through, I only have two numbers, so it takes me a lot longer to type equals sum. I'm going to click on cell G27, and then I'm going to do plus G29 and hit enter, because I'm really just adding those two numbers in there. And again, just as a heads up, when I'm grading these spreadsheets, I'm going to be doing control and tilde, and I'm going to be looking at all of these formulas to make sure you have these formulas in correctly. Because that's the important part of using a spreadsheet, is that it goes through and does the calculations for you. So if I went in and changed any of these amounts, it will automatically update for you. So that is completing application 7-3 as a spreadsheet. So if you are done with that, which I hope you are, you can go ahead and turn that into me in Classroom.